What's up and welcome back to the live Kinda Funny Gamescast for Friday, May 3rd, 2024. Of course, I am Tim Geddes. I am joined by the new face of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
May thy buster sword chip and shatter.
There we go. There we go. You've had a lot of fun times this year, haven't you? Final Fantasy and Dune.
God, I love Dune 2 so much.
We have the boss baby himself, Barrett Courtney.
Tim, I'm here to talk about two things. It's said that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a tale of two endings, Tim. On one side, you have the ending to the main quest, which some would say is a convoluted mess, and while it delivers nuggets of hype in the form of bashing your action figures together, it is also emblematic of the major problem this remake trilogy has, waffling between a faithful remake and a reimagination of a story that recontextualizes our understanding of the original story, and some could argue that this trilogy isn't fully succeeding at either. And on the other side, we have the amazing ending to the Queen's Blood quest line, which is the most Yu-Gi-Oh! Story in games. I understand Yu-Gi-Oh! Has video games, but Queen's Blood in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the most Yu-Gi-Oh!-ass story in a video game, and it kicks ass! I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah. Very true.
I'm shutting my laptop because those are the only notes I took.
And rounding out the group today, of course, if we're talking about Final Fantasy VII, for it feels like the 100th time, I'm having Imran Khan back here to talk all about his thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I have four important words to say.
Go for it.
Shilly shally, dilly dally.
There we go, baby. There we go. We all watched Advent Children together in theaters and had a fantastic time. But remember, everybody, this is the Kinda Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about video games, reviews, previews, and topics live on YouTube, Twitch, and podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, please support us with the Kinda Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. For a chance to be part of the show, you can submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube super chats as we're going, and we will bring those in. So if you have questions or theories about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, please drop them and we'll talk about them. A little housekeeping for you. Kinda Funny Games is an 11-person small business that's all about live talk shows. You already got me and Greg talking about Resident Evil 9 on Kinda Funny Games Daily today. But up next, we got Kinda Funny Games Showdown. Season 2 premiere is going to be a great time. And after that, Nick's going to continue his Pokemon Dreams for his stream. So you can hang out with Kinda Funny all day on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames or youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames. And also today's Greg Way is going to be a absolutely fantastic one. He's having a great time talking about stuff. That's what he's doing.
What kind of stuff?
Doing? I don't remember. I'm blanking, but you had it.
I ran the Games Daily where he said it.
It's the embargoes. That's what it was. That's what it was. It's the embargoes and all of that. So you can check out how we're going to handle embargoes going forward. But thank you for making our dreams a reality. Patreon producers, Delaney Twining, Kieran Hopasapian, and Carl Jacobs. Today we're brought to you by Aura Frames, but we'll tell you about that later. It's time, finally, to talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with all of the cuffs off. We can say whatever the hell we want to about this. The last time that we talked about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as a group, we were given our reviews. But of course, that had to be spoiler-free. This is full spoilers, baby. We're going all the way. So I want to start with you, Imran. You are the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan that I personally know. And I have theorized, I've talked to you. We have really went down the rabbit hole about Final Fantasy VII over the years. Where you at? A couple months removed, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
So I'm no longer as sure as I was back then, which is like a big reversal from Remake, where I was like, yeah, I know what's going on after the end of this game. Finally, now that the confusion is settled, the haze has like lifted. But like now I'm like, okay, I've seen 1,000 different theories. Some of these have like some real merit to them. Also, I don't think Square Enix knows, or at least they didn't know when they wrote that, where that thing was going to go. So I think like we were in for a ride after the end of Remake, and we didn't really get a ride. We got like mostly the same game and a real mind fuck of an ending. This time I think we're actually in for like, what are they going to do? I assume it'll mostly be the same game again, but they've got to actually like resolve a lot of this now. So at this point, I am of the thought process of, I'm just going to kind of let it happen. I'm going to wait and see. I'm still going to theorize like crazy in this podcast, but I'm going to see what they got going here, because it seems like they could just go on a complete fucking roller coaster here.
Where are you leaning right now? Theory-wise, obviously, you're probably mostly talking about the end of where we're going here. What theory are you most closely aligning with? And you don't need to get into the details of it because we can break down stuff later, but just like where are you falling?
So I have two pillars to this current theory. One is that the entire first two games, or not entire, but like the first two games are about getting Zach to this like timeline plane, whatever you want to call it, like getting him to interact with the main party in some way. And I think now we're at that point. The other pillar of this is I used to be convinced, and if we can go back to the original FF7 remake Spoilercast, this is a multi-universal thing. I am no longer convinced of that. I think the live stream is what we're essentially talking about as like the multiple universes. There are things where these people are existing in some form of like reality, but it's not like a Marvel infinite possibilities thing. It is a live stream taking people who have memories or unresolved will or unresolved like business and giving them a chance to like live that out a little bit, but also Sephiroth is fucking with it in some way.
And that's the thing, is like that theory I feel like is backed by so much of what happens specifically with the Aerith stuff in this game, of the way that they deal with talking about hopes and dreams and memories, of course the living legacy that they always go back to, but her relationship with the live stream and the way that they kind of have shown that the different potential timelines, multiverse, whatever it is, are just other versions of the hopes and dreams that these characters might have had.
Yeah.
It's like it does add up to the original lore of Final Fantasy VII, but then also what they've been building with Remake, with the fighting against the Whispers and then eventually teaming up with the Whispers and all of that. So it is very interesting where they are laying all the groundwork here. It is the big question of how they're going to bring it all together in the end in a way that makes sense, or are they just not going to?
Yeah.
Bless, where do you fall right now?
I enjoy listening to you guys talk about this because for me, as somebody who is not as invested into like the meta commentary of timelines and what the live stream is doing, and if you played the original Final Fantasy VII, you know that the story goes like this, but if you play Remake and Rebirth where the Whispers come in and they're altering the timeline, like these are all the different things that they could be doing. For me, coming into 7 Remake and 7 Rebirth, trying to be a fan of 7 Remake and 7 Rebirth through these new modern games, that's the stuff that has made things difficult for me, especially while I'm enjoying the story as it's more straightforward, right? Like it's so fun coming to this Spoilercast and being like ready and excited to talk about, oh yeah, let's talk about how Barrett getting back to his hometown and how they treated him. Let's talk about Aerith getting to the hometown with Zach and meeting Zach's parents and what that means and all this shit, right? Like, those are the moments where I'm invested in Final Fantasy VII Remake and 7 Rebirth, but it's when the Whispers come in and I'm like, I got nothing, right? And so like hearing you guys talk about it is very necessary conversations because of course I'm sure the bulk of our audience is like invested in it in this way. But yeah, like I have so little opinion on what's going on, but I have fun hearing you guys talk about it. I'm so because I think for me the big thing with the ending and the parts that didn't land for me with the ending were, then we're going full spoilers because, of course, it's Spoilercast. So this is your last chance before I say some truly spoilerific shit. But the way that they handled Aerith dying, or not dying, but yes, actually dying, but her ghost still living there in Cloud's brain, that stuff for me got so lost in the weeds where I'm like, I was enjoying how straightforward this was.
Barrett.
Oh, shit. Kind of similar to Bless, where it's like I like the relationship stuff, obviously with the ending, and y'all talking about your theories. Like, I know the original a decent amount. I played it as a kid, so it's been a long time since I played it. But getting a refresh on videos and playing Remake and playing Rebirth and feeling like I understand most of it, but then hearing you two talk, I feel like I just hit a blunt and then y'all started talking about like politics that I don't know about. So it's like, what the fuck? That's why I was making that goofy face earlier. And so, yeah, for me, at least when it comes to the ending, I think it's like, we can have our theories on like multiverse or if it's the fucking will of people, whatever the fuck that means, man. Like on an emotional storytelling level, does not work, I think. And that's the thing that like, I think is my big problem with the end of the game for a game that I ultimately really, really enjoyed and liked more than I did Remake. And so that's, it's been interesting of kind of like sitting with it and kind of like going back to like videos just to refresh my memory of some areas and still just thinking about like, damn, I just had a fun time playing in this world and like hanging out with these characters and going on the date and then like reliving some of the parts of the game that I am the most nostalgic for when it comes to playing the original with my babysitter and like their basement, like back in the day of like going to like Cosmo Canyon and like reliving that kind of like Red 13 moment, which like fucking like
Oh my
hits
God,
even
yeah.
more this time around. Like getting into the, like Barrett's like hometown and like all of that stuff. And again, that hitting more, even like the resolution to it is a bit different, but I think the things that they changed about it make it so much more meaningful. And that's the stuff I'm like really excited to talk about. I'm excited to talk about the ending and why, like, ultimately I think it's like I forget who wrote the article. Chat, let me know if you remember this, but someone wrote an article about essentially of like Square Enix tried to pick both endings of if Aerith lives or dies, and it ultimately like made a lot of people just like,
Yeah, and that's kind of why
Yeah.
I'm so curious to dig into Imran and Tim and what you guys thought of it. Because as I was playing it during review, and you get to that moment where it is you're kind of splitting between the timelines, the quote unquote timelines, like possibilities or whatever, and you get to it, and it seems like Cloud saves Aerith, but it seems like that's not the case. One, what's your guys' read on that? And then also, did you guys like that as people who are invested and are fans of this?
I fucking cheered when he deflected the sword. And
Same.
then it got a little weird of like, okay, he didn't do that, or he did. And I was like, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait to see this play out. But when he reflected the sword, I was like, yeah, we're finally doing the thing. I understand why they felt like they could not do any.
but the thing that they promise at the end of Remake, right? The end of all of Remake is all about like defying fate, and at the end of Remake, we're fuck fate, we're doing our own thing, and we know going into part 2, like, all right, the big thing that is going to be defying fate is the Aerith shit. And to do the immediately, like, I think all of us had the thing of like when he deflects Sephiroth's sword. I was in my bedroom at 1 a.m. trying not to scream my fucking lungs out because of how hyped I was. And then the confusing, muddied thing 3 seconds later, I was like, fucking Christ, man.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It is confusing and it is muddy, and I feel like that is what I enjoy about this remake trilogy so far, is that they deliver so much of the moments that I remember, but in a way that I couldn't even imagine them in my head, of just so perfect, these characters interacting, and I feel like Rebirth specifically had so many great character moments. I love the relationship between Tifa and Aerith. Anytime they're talking, I just believe in it so much. Barrett is the growth that we've seen him have, even from the first game to this, is so good. Red 13, the voice, we might have some thoughts on, but like overall what they did with him and how they expanded on Cosmo Canyon, I thought was beautiful. And as you're going through the game, so much of that stuff, it really felt like an adventure, and the party mattered so much. And then every time that they would cut to the Zack stuff, and then eventually the big stuff and the other timeline, whatever it is, stuff, I was so excited because I'm like, I know what happens in the normal game. I want the new stuff. Like, y'all teased me so hard with one of my favorite game characters ever, Zack, at the end of Remake. And I'm like, what are you going to do with him? You put him on the box. He's on the box, everybody. Like, what are we doing
He's one of the
here?
3 prominent characters, and we hang out with him for a total how many minutes, Tim?
I don't know, man. Like
30?
17, like, and the game starts and you're playing as Zack, and I'm like, oh my god, this is not how I expected this, because the preview that we did, that they told us this is the beginning of the game, it wasn't that. Like, the beginning started that I played was Cloud and Sephiroth, like in the flashback. So I'm like, wow, they're doing something here, and I just feel like they just kept getting into the Zack stuff and then ripping you away. And I was like, this is gonna make more sense eventually, and I think it does. I just feel the pacing of that stuff to get to towards the end where we're really dealing with the like, what the fuck's going on? Did he save Aerith? Did he not save Aerith? I feel like it all adds up and makes sense in a way that they wrote it. They know what is happening, and I do think that they know where they're going. Like, I think
they have a vague idea. I think on Rebirth specifically. So let's call this a theory and not actually inside information.
A game theory?
A game theory. My theory is that they backed off a lot of the changes they were going to make in Rebirth when they got reaction to what happened at the end of Remake. So, like, not fully. They can't change that much in that short of amount of time. But they did, like, I think Zack was probably a lot more involved in that original script idea, and then he is in the final game. I suspect they're also looking at like reactions to Rebirth as they're making whatever they call the next game.
Yeah, potentially. I feel like with the story, with where they go with the whispers and the whole scene with Tifa with the weapon and getting into the live stream, and we see that there's like the white whispers and the black whispers and all that stuff. I feel like the defying fate and all that stuff, like that is a story that's just happening around the Final Fantasy VII story. And I feel like I believe they have more answers than they're letting on here. And I think that the direction that Rebirth went, to me, means, oh wow, okay, like the whisper stuff that happened in Remake, they're building on, and like Barrett dying in the first game but then being brought back and all that stuff. It's like there's enough elements that I feel like they're adding that do complement all the lore and concept stuff that we know about the weapons, about the live stream, about Genova and all this stuff. And that's the biggest thing is the Genova of it all.
Yes.
They can kind of get away with whatever bullshit they want. And the fact of the matter is, with where we are left off in Rebirth, we still haven't dealt with Cloud like really taking in his whole past.
So
and he's still getting all glitchy, you know?
Yeah.
So here is my overarching theory for all 3 games, is that this entire trilogy is a battle for Cloud's soul. Early on in the middle of the game, they started talking about the Gi. In a way that they did not talk about them in FF7, which I thought was incredibly cool.
Yeah.
So awesome.
That
man.
entire sequence is so goddamn cool.
As he's sailing the boat and just telling you all about I'm like, this is nothing, but also I love this.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So they explain that the Gi, who are not from that planet, they never go further into it, but they're not from that planet, so Livestream doesn't want them, so they can never fully die. So they hate that idea so much that they prayed to the black materia, or prayed to create the black materia, a symbol of hate that would just destroy the entire world, win them with it. So there's no Livestream, nothing, everything gets destroyed. So we can establish from that alone that materia can be created by emotions. All this time, Sephiroth is doing something with Cloud. He is fucking with him for some end.
This little puppy.
And he gives Cloud the fake materia. Fake, quote-unquote fake. We don't actually know what it is yet. And then fucks with Cloud's head massively after that. He does things that, you were talking about the character moments not working for you. One of the character moments that work for me is that everything Cloud does in Temple of Ancients is really fucking mean to Aerith.
Yeah.
That's his lasting memory.
No, character moments in this game, fucking, I love.
Yeah.
It's just it's like the last 20 minutes of the game.
But I mean, what makes those last 20 minutes work for me is the fact that Cloud is just mean as hell to her. The second, when she has a good idea that she's about to die, I think.
Yeah.
And so when they all come out of that chamber of trauma or whatever you want to call it.
Which was awesome, man.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. The Barrett scene was great. The Aerith scene actually had me cry.
The Aerith scene was powerful.
Yeah.
Stuff he just says time's wasting, we have to go. Even though she is trying to tell people, hey, don't be sad when I die.
Yeah.
So
no, and I love that. I think it's more so of the plot getting in the way of the emotion for the last sequence, right? Of protecting Aerith, but then not protecting Aerith, teaming up with Zack, but then kind of not teaming up with Zack. All of that, I think that got in the way of the emotional character stuff.
Right after that is plot.
Yes.
So after that happens, Cloud gives the fake black materia to Sephiroth. He's like, this isn't really useful for right now, but you're gonna give this to me eventually. He puts something in it, then tells Cloud to give it to him. So I think, and also at the end of the game, Cloud still has that black materia.
Yeah, and he puts it in his sword, and it's so fucking
So
cool.
sick, dude.
I think that thing is what Sephiroth wants for some reason, but he needs Cloud's negative energy to actually be to turn it into the thing, the time compression, the universe, whatever he wants from it, he needs Cloud to do it. And so the game, the white and black whispers, obviously represent Sephiroth and Aerith in some way, perhaps literally, I'm not sure.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I think, is that we're building to a thing where there are these forces that they've been that we've had from every iteration of Final Fantasy VII, and I do think that Aerith with the holy, with the white materia, whatever, that's now a clear materia, and then Sephiroth with the black materia, it's literally just the white and black materia themselves, the white and black whispers. It's and the way that those things act, it adds up and it makes sense.
Right. I think Aerith is the last date and stuff and things like that, where things of her going don't go nuts. I don't blame you for any of this. Just be a good person and let that materia will morph around you, I guess. I think that's what that third game is going to be. Is there is a battle for Cloud's soul that is now essentially Tifa's responsibility, that everyone else, Sephiroth, is trying to get him to turn. Not just for funsies, but he has a plan.
The third game has to be heavy on this stuff, right?
Yes.
I was fascinated by the pacing of most of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was stuff that I had played in the original Final Fantasy VII, and I didn't think that it was going to be, because I didn't think I had played as much Final Fantasy VII as I have. But it wasn't until I got to the end of Rebirth where I'm like, okay, finally I'm at stuff that I actually didn't get to in the original game. And when you finish off, and it is Cloud seeing Aerith, right, having Aerith be visible to him, and then putting the black materia into the sword, and the team going off from there. I get the impression that whatever the third game is has to be that shit.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
not knowing what's in the actual rest of Final Fantasy VII Original.
And dude, like that's such a good point. And what I find so fascinating about what Rebirth ended up being, if you watch any of our theory breakdown videos of the trailers or anytime we talked about Rebirth, I've always was like, oh, I think they're going to deviate entirely from the game. Like I thought the Rebirth was going to be like, hey man, it's a new adventure. We might
Even
go to
10 both of us 10 hours in coming to each other with like theories of how off the rails they were going to go. And then
they just did it,
Yeah.
which I think is a surprise. Obviously a choice. And I do think for the most part, it was the right choice because I feel like so much of this game, the people that played it, they loved all of it. It's just the weird, like once you get to the new stuff that people are a bit more take it or leave it. And I totally understand that. Because even as somebody that like, I just want to say this, I like it at the end of the day. The more I think about it, the more where they leave off. I like not knowing the answers. And I truly believe they're going to have answers. In the
You
third
like
one.
Aerith?
So now here's my problem. Here's where
Giving her feelings.
No, I don't. But that's the thing is the fact that I am emotionally like involved in this and that I am just like, why? I don't like these choices you're making. I'm like, I'm gripped by the storytelling. I care about these characters. I care about the relationships. And once we got to the last 20 minutes, we'll say, of this game, that literally just turns into the most bizarre, feed it into the Tim Geddes brain of like, what are just cool things that could happen? The action figures together. Like, why? I would have never in a million years thought I'd get a scene of fucking Zack and Cloud back to back, like fighting Sephiroth.
Fucking
and
cool as
the
hell.
entire team helping him and stuff. I'm like, what is going on? And it's like, was it earned? Absolutely not. Like, it's just so weird that this game had all this stuff. But I'm fascinated that they did.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated with how little they had of Zack throughout the game. And then Biggs coming back. Like, they're just throwing so much fan service stuff. But the fact that all the fan service stuff is the weird shit, I feel like there has to be a plan to it. And that makes me like be a little bit more okay with it because it's not affecting the actual plot of the game and like the characters and the moments.
The only like the big thing in plot wise that's different, and I think might actually, because I've been thinking about this of like, what else do they have left to adapt for the third game? Like, it doesn't feel like much plot wise, but the whole big thing that's now different is like the Wu-Tai stuff.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The third game, they have said will focus on Wu-Tai.
Yeah.
As like a major part of the game.
Hell yeah.
So I imagine you're going to land there and spend like 20 hours just like dealing with all the politics and shit that happens in
I
Wu-Tai.
love that for an optional area.
Well, and
Which, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Just real quick, just throw it before you, because I feel like you'll be able to tie this together better than me. But like, there's the Wu-Tai stuff, but then there's also this like new character that was throughout this game, the hooded guy that
Glenn.
Glenn.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
great. Everyone's
So,
favorite character,
okay,
Glenn.
Glenn.
Yeah.
Love my boy
That's
Glenn.
a crazy name for that dude.
Dude, Glenn is best friends with Clive.
No, 100%.
So the thing about Glenn is he is the main story character of what was the name of that battle royale?
Oh, it's Final Fantasy VII.
Not Ever Crisis.
Something Infinite?
Was it?
No.
Soldier, first Soldier.
First Soldier, yes.
Oh
He's the
my
main character of that.
God.
What I suspect was supposed to
didn't know
happen
that.
is that so at the end of that game he gets accepted to be a soldier as long as as two other people they were mentioned in this game but not like only very briefly. So there's Ever Crisis going on right now, the mobile gacha that is coming out episodically, and I suspect in that game Rufus probably killed Glenn, but that game got delayed. So they weren't ready for like that to be the first revealed in Rebirth. So like that explains why all this Rufus stuff was like really confusing.
Yeah.
Because Glenn is not like
Dude, I thought I was tripping, dude. It's so fun reviewing games and like me not having the internet to like Google, did I fucking miss this cutscene in Remake? And be like, does anybody know who the fuck Glenn is? So I'm watching that. I'm like, wow, I really forgot what happened in the last game, apparently.
Though apparently it's not actually Glenn. It is a
Sephiroth.
It's a Sephiroth clone that is trying to engineer a war between Shinra and Wu-Tai, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's my read too, and that's why I think that it makes sense for if they needed to add something new in 2 because they're going to expand so much on Wu-Tai in 3.
Yeah.
But also like so the Wu-Tai stuff is interesting because they keep talking about this Prime Minister Suraf, who is absolutely like he is trying to get the war with Wu-Tai going. He's trying to free them from Yuffie's father, like as the leader, even though probably Yuffie's father is not actually as terrible as she thinks and they think. Suraf is very clearly Rufus. His name is Sir Ruff.
Oh my god,
like
that's so funny.
and like remember when like towards the end of the game. Towards the end of the game,
That's great. That's awesome.
Glenn goes up there.
I love fiction, man.
And he goes to Rufus. Is like, yeah, he didn't show up. And Rufus is like, maybe if it were a little less cheap. then like that was like, oh yeah, that's very obviously they're saying he is Rufus.
Interesting. Okay.
So he's playing both sides of this because he also wants a war, but probably not for the same reason Sephiroth does.
Yeah.
I think he is after the huge materia because he wants to save the world in his own weird
way,
Shinra
yeah.
way. Yes.
And goddamn, he's so cool. Like, let's just now, can we talk about like the coolest moments in this game?
I
Like,
mean,
just-
we've got
please.
the huge sequence in the battle arena, Tim.
oh yeah. Because like with Rufus and all this, we get the pro wrestling stuff. We got Dio back. We got all the
fucking
Beastie
battle
Boys
rap.
going
Oh
on.
my
God, that
man.
rap was amazing.
Dude, it was so good. And like there were the set piece boss fights in this. Like for years I've said I remember watching Final Fantasy Advent Children and being like, can you imagine playing this? And then I remember Final Fantasy 13 coming out and being like, some of the battle moves and animations look like Advent Children, but it doesn't feel like it. Now I'm like, oh, we've surpassed Advent Children.
They
the
were
set
going
piece
to,
boss
yeah.
fights are incredible.
They were going to use the models from Advent Children, and then were like, oh, these look too old. We can do better.
That's so damn cool, man. I feel like we talk so much about the music in this game. We don't talk about it enough because my God, it might be the greatest soundtrack
Yes.
of all time. It's definitely the most varied and like highest production value
yeah.
across the amount of tracks that they have in this. But they use each one so perfectly for every single moment. The way that the choreography of the fight scenes and the cinematography of the edits of everything, it is just maximum hype at all points for every single fight. And I don't know how they keep upping it because in Remake, I would say there was maybe like 4 to 5 of those big fights. I feel like Rebirth had like
It was fight on
50.
fight. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, that's somebody in chat mentions the Bow Wow Wow. Like
Yes.
the music moments in this game
Salmon.
are so great, but also kind of crazy and weird in ways that I really respect because they
That is the track of the fucking year. I don't give
but
a
also
shit,
there's a
man.
battle version of it that like
I
sounds
know.
amazing.
and like they go deep into EDM. Like you mentioned, there's hip hop. There's the whole rap cutscene where they do the introduction to the fight. There's orchestrated versions of so many of the classic themes that we already have from the original Final Fantasy. There's so much just like jam-packed soundtrack in this, and yeah, it's so impressive.
There's like a Kyrie J-pop like battle theme that they use once, and it's great.
There's the fucking like piano stuff too, where it
Yeah.
is like, hey, we have a rhythm game in here. We can just play piano. It's all these different
terrible
themes.
at
I'm so bad at it too, but I love
Yeah, I
it.
was really bad at it.
But I respect it because I'm like, oh, y'all put work into this. It felt like doing the
Like
Last
Andy
of Us
Cortez is going to have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
And dude, okay, the vocal theme in this game is amazing. I didn't love the one in Remake. I love the one here, and it really took hearing the orchestral version to make me appreciate the original too.
Yeah.
But oh my God, the whole Loveless scene, the entire freaking like opera scene, they were just like, yo, Final Fantasy VI has its opera scene. We've talked about Loveless a million times in Final Fantasy VII. What if we just went all out and showed all the characters have to deal with them dealing with the grief of losing Jesse and
Dude,
Avalanche and
yeah.
all this
Yo.
stuff?
Is that
Like,
chapter 12 that they're doing?
It's like 11 or 12.
11 or
yeah.
12. Whatever that chapter is maybe one of my favorite chapters in a video game period. Because that's the same one where you go on the date. Oh, that is the date actually.
Yeah.
Well, this
Yeah.
is the date. And so like I want to go around and ask which date did you go on and like what happened during the date because I went on the date with Tifa. Let's fucking go. I got the right fucking choice. And when I tell you that, so you do the Loveless thing, you do the whole like, fantasy, weird to call it fantasy, but you get like the play or whatever where you actually play it and do all the quick time events and all that shit. And that stuff alone, I was like, this is fucking incredible. And then after that, I don't know how it went for y'all, but I get the scene of, I assume all of us might have gotten the scene of Aerith singing a song.
Yeah.
And during that, it's like me and Tifa backstage and we start holding hands. And when I tell you that my heart starts beating because I'm like, this is so fucking precious. And then you go on the Ferris wheel. And did any of you guys get Tifa? Or am I the only one?
I got Barrett.
Oh, that sucks for you guys.
Well, that's the canon version because let's be real. Cloud is bitchless.
yeah. And
Swagless and
The
bitchless.
Barrett date's really nice.
It's really good.
He becomes like, he basically comes like says a bunch of things about his past and like how he feels and like how this is like a friendship
For
to him.
Barrett's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
really, really good.
Dude,
stuff.
I was bummed at first, but then like the more that night plays out, I'm like, I feel like this is the story. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
like them having a bro moment, and especially like the Jesse stuff. I think hits for me a bit more, like seeing Barrett's reaction to it. Oh
Yeah.
my god, heartbreaking.
See,
Yeah.
for me, as we're getting codes for the game, I'm talking to Michael Hyam, my roommate, who is one of the biggest Final Fantasy fans I have in my life. And, we're talking about Final Fantasy VII, and, we're talking about kind of like our impressions from the get-go. He had done the preview, and so he was asking questions about the relationship stuff in the game. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm curious what they're doing with that, because yeah, when you do side quests with people, your relationship levels up. And he's like, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I wonder if you're gonna be able to romance. He was like, no, they wouldn't do that. Like, they're not gonna commit to having a BT for Aerith. That'd be too much for them. And when I get to the scene where it is Tifa, me and Tifa on the Ferris wheel, Cloud and Tifa, not me and Tifa.
Oh shit!
Cloud and Tifa on the Ferris wheel, and like they're kind of opening up her emotions, but also it's the thing of it's Cloud, and so Cloud is this dude who doesn't really open up like that. You know, he's gruff, he's tough, he's also kind of like he's insufferable to me, but it's whatever, right? It's still Cloud. But you can tell that there's something there that they don't want to share, and then they kind of have this moment, and it is like they kind of lean in, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna happen, and then Cloud hugs her, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's still sweet. But then after that, they kiss. When I tell you, I was gripping my controller so fucking hard.
This reminds me, busting one of my favorite stories about you. When we came here for the Hamaguchi interview, we were talking outside, and we were talking about the dates. And Hamaguchi's like, yeah, I really like Red 13 and all that. You come out from Games Daily.
Yeah.
Tim says, hey, Blessing, what date did you go on? And you're like, last night?
It caught me so off guard because I did go on a date the night before that. And so when I come out of KHD and Tim's like, oh, what date did you go on? I'm like, who told you? Who told you about the date that I went on?
Oh man, yeah, that date stuff, it's so good. And again, the love list, the set piece of it all, and it building into the story. And like, again, one of my favorite things about Final Fantasy VII is it is very complicated, and it is a saga at this point. And I truly feel like these games are a sequel. They're not a remake, and they call it a remake, and I get it.
Yeah.
People are frustrated by that, and that makes sense. But I love that the more Final Fantasy VII you take in, the more it makes sense. And I'm not saying it all makes sense. I'm just saying the more you kind of enjoy the little bits here and there of what you got going on. So it's like, to me, seeing the whole Loveless thing and the way that they really care about Jesse and showing all the Avalanche stuff, like that's a remake thing.
Yes.
You know, and I just really appreciate that, like, we can get moments that I'm like, I know I care about, like the date, and I know from the lore of the original game that they've remade, but then they add all these new characters or new elements to old characters to flesh them out to make them feel as important as the core cast. And I think that's really special.
Yep.
Yeah. Though I will say, really bummed that everyone died, basically. Like, they get at the end of Remake, they give this idea that Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse may have survived. And then you find out through Rebirth, oh no, they're all really fucking dead. Like Wedge especially. Wedge had a
plate.
Did you guys do there was a side quest chain in, I believe, what's Red 13's like area?
Cosmo Canyon.
Cosmo Canyon. You know how each area kind of has its own unique like side quest that is like a
the
special
Gilgamesh
thing?
quest.
Yes.
Mm.
The one in Cosmo Canyon has to do with Wedge.
Yes.
And I did the first one, but I didn't have time to do the rest of them because I was like, this game is just too fucking big. I don't want to finish for a review. Did any of you guys finish that one?
Yes.
What happened? Like, what's
Wedge
up with
is
that?
dead. Like
Aw, damn.
they saw him, like they were on the bottom floor of the Shinra Tower. They saw him go splat in front of them.
No, that's fucked up.
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Don't do that to
it was
Wedge.
actually really fucked up.
Damn.
And so that's where it's interesting, though, because like, okay, they're dead, but so is Biggs. I would have never thought in a million years we'd see Biggs back, like in any form. So when he showed up, that was definitely like a, what the fuck? Let's go. What are you going to do with this? And then it was interesting that it kind of just seems like he just dies again.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, because he goes down 2 different tracks. I don't know, man.
Like
a bunch of different ones.
So
actually.
The storytelling is so
if
weird.
you buy the live stream theory that they're in a universe like an afterlife that's about them trying to finish business, Biggs wants to die for the cause. That is that's what he says during Rebirth. He thinks he feels guilty that everyone else, like, he left them alone basically, and all he did was like kind of climb up a tower.
Yeah.
That's his ending, I think. Is that eventually, no matter what, eventually he will die for the cause.
Okay.
And Zack can try and save him, but he's gonna get shot. What was that? The Pug universe, I guess, because he had the
Right.
scout. Yeah, but like in that universe, he will always die. And I think, if not to be like overly fatalistic about it, they're bringing back every character basically in every game, because like this one had every side character from Remake.
Right.
I would not be shocked if we do find some universe where everyone is happy, but also I think it's okay I think it's okay that everyone died finishing their business. And Zack, I think his ultimate business is he wants to protect everyone, which means he is going to find a way to protect everyone.
Okay.
That's what heroes do, everybody. We're going to take a quick pause to hear a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to keep talking about my boy, Zach.
Looking for the perfect gift to celebrate the moms in your life? Aura frames are beautiful, Wi-Fi connected digital picture frames that allow you to share and display unlimited photos. It's super easy to upload and share photos via the Aura app, and if you're giving Aura as a gift, you can even personalize the frame with preloaded photos and memories. How do I, Greg Miller from Kinda Funny, know so much about Aura? Because I just gave Jen one for her birthday. I used the QR code on the box to preload it with photos of her and Benny. And when she booted it up for the first time, she got to see a sweet little message from me. I like this frame so much that I am actually legitimately buying one for my mother for Mother's Day. From grandmothers to new mothers, aunts, and even friends in your life, every mom loves an Aura frame. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping for their best-selling frame. That's auraframes.com. Use code KINDAFUNNY at checkout to save. And mom, if you see this before you get your Aura frame for Mother's Day, please act surprised.
So staying on Zach for a second, I brought this up a little bit earlier, but I just want to explicitly say it. I just do not accept any world that's not Cloud and Tifa and Zach and Aerith. All right.
I might be there now.
And the fact that this game had that whole date situation with the Pomeranian version, and I'm just like, this seems like a good universe. And I see Aerith and Cloud having their moments. I'm like, no, this is a bad universe. You get the hell out of here, man. What are your thoughts on this, Bless?
I mean, I am on the Tifa side of things, but I also love Aerith. That's the thing. These characters are so good. Like these characters, for me, it's.
But it's not you, Bless. It's Cloud. Who do you think is right for Cloud?
You know, have you seen the movie Challengers? Sometimes
I haven't.
Let's all just have fun with each other. Sometimes you gotta, share the wealth. Yeah, I love. Listen,
did you watch Challengers? Because I don't know if that's the takeaway.
Listen. Cloud and Tifa, Cloud and Aerith and Tifa. Like, why can't we all just love each other?
Cloud can get together with anyone besides Red 13 and Yuffie. That's my reasoning.
Barrett and Cloud. Like, I feel like, man, we got so much love to spread here. There's
a lot of love to spread, but Zach and Aerith, man, that's my hill to die on.
I really love Aerith's line towards the end of the game. That's I like you, Cloud, but like can mean a lot of things. And I've never been like diehard shipping Final Fantasy VII, whatever. Personally, it always seemed like he got together with Tifa because that's who survived. But also, Advent Children, he's a huge asshole to her and everyone else. So like, no matter what result comes from this, unless they change the things that stop Geostigma and all that jazz, he will still be an aloof, absent partner to whoever he remains.
I will say, I think Final Fantasy VII. I might have tweeted this. I've seen other people mention it though. Like, I think this game has just the best cast of characters of all time for a video game, right?
Yeah.
Like, or at least it's up there for me. Where
I think it is.
They made me care about Kate Sith.
Yeah.
I care so much about all these characters so much. By the time we get around to even early on in the game, where in that first area, there's the Cloud and Aerith go on their little date, right? And they get back to the crew, and somebody's like, "Where you guys been?" And yeah, Aerith's like, "Oh, we don't have a little date." And Tifa's like, "I'm
good,
so invested, man."
Yeah. The girls, man, I brought it up earlier, but I think my favorite relationship in the game is Tifa and Aerith. Yeah. Every scene they have together, every little line they have. I mean, even Aerith in the beginning, it's not with Tifa, but talking to Barrett and just being like, "Do you think I'm a dumbass?" And like Tifa having her back, and like all these little moments and their high fives constantly,
and then actually coming together to talk about like, yo, what the fuck is up with Cloud?
What's going on with our boy?
That's actually what I wanted to get to, right? Allow me to be a hater real quick, because this Cloud guy, oh man.
But here's the thing.
I feel about him the way Kendrick feels about Drake.
He's supposed to suck.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think I understand that, but he still sucks. Like, I still come out of this being like, I fucking do not like this main character. And then also, I wish there was more reaction to it from the other characters in those moments. When you get to the scene where Cloud is being taken over and he essentially like swipes at Tifa and causes her to fall into the live stream, I feel like there should be a little bit more reaction to that from maybe a Barrett. I feel like Barrett should be like, "What the fuck, man?"
I think very clearly they are talking about it amongst themselves in a way that does not involve Cloud. Because there's a point where Barrett said, "Oh, we thought you were freaking out again," and like somebody stops him because he's giving away private conversation right there. But also, so in FF7, in the original FF7, the black materia that they pick up is fake. It's not a real one.
Yeah.
What happens is the temple implodes and it becomes that black materia. The temple did implode this time, but they didn't say anything about it. So I suspect they palmed it. They like Barrett saw the actual black materia or somebody is holding on to it because they don't want Cloud to have it.
Interesting.
I feel that. And like for Chad and people listening, right? I know the twists with Cloud. Again, I don't know 100% everything that happens in the Final Fantasy VII story, so maybe I'm missing on context around the crew. But yeah, it feels for me, for me, giving the perspective of somebody who's jumping into this as I am playing this as my first official all the way through being invested in Final Fantasy VII. I am playing this with a protagonist that is making me go, oh.
I'm with you.
I think you're supposed to feel slimy controlling him.
Yeah.
You're supposed to feel like if I make progress, he's gonna do some dumb shit.
Yeah. If Cloud wasn't like the coolest looking character, and if he wasn't like surrounded with such lovely characters, if it didn't absolutely destroy that Cloud design, destroy in a good way, well, it would be tough to get me on this guy's side. I'm like, you're lucky you got a big
And this is
old
also
sword.
the tough thing of splitting the story in 3 parts, right?
Yeah.
It's like I feel like you're supposed to feel this about him going into the ending of the second, so it's hard that you don't get to see the full through line for another few years.
Yeah.
Right.
Like towards the end when he was just killing soldiers because he was like, we got to do something with them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't disagree with you, but also you're doing this. You're making Tifa sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're fucking the vibes of your homies. And I don't like that. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
The big reactor fight where the girls team up and then Scarlet
Against
comes
Scarlet.
in. That the music hits. We get the boss theme for the first time in this game, and they go so damn hard. Tifa falling in. When they shoot the bullets and Cloud just dodges, I was like, that might be the single coolest second.
shit
I've
was
ever
Was
sick,
that the
dude.
scene where he recreates all of Sephiroth's movements?
Yes.
Oh my god! Like just the reflection of
got
that
chills.
first scene was just
Yeah.
chef's kiss.
I like that Yuffie is intentionally pushing down the Sonon stuff. She is trying not to think about it.
Yeah.
And they then got confronted with it in Temple of Ancients. But also, she did not get revenge this game. I suspect. So, God, what are we on FF7 spoilers? Are we good for the original?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
So in the original, they go back to Midgar. I suspect then Vincent and Yuffie are going to have a little diversion to go to Sector 0 because they have unfinished business that they have to handle there. Scarlet, I think she dies, but from a weapon attack and not from not from anyone actually doing anything. But I suspect that like Vincent and Yuffie, they're going to find common ground on the fact that they know what's going on in Deep Ground and they need to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Can I want to talk about Sephiroth a little bit because I
Please.
fucking love this
Hell
guy.
yeah.
But and this is like more of a question for I guess you two, Tim and Imran, about why Sephiroth is so obsessed with Cloud. I assume that it's because of the timeline thing where he knows how important Cloud is already, that he's like, oh, I got to orchestrate all this shit with Cloud. But for me coming in and not knowing necessarily everything, right? There are so many times during this game where I'm like, so why does he care about Cloud so much? Like why is he such a major character to him, especially coming off of Crisis Core where I'm like, Cloud seems up to this point just a dude who had things happen to him.
So my current theory, like I mentioned before, is that he needs Cloud to do something for him, and that something is going to be like affect the material. So he does need Cloud in the original FF7 because we have not physically seen Sephiroth yet.
In the original FF, or are you talking about
In this story or Rebirth or where this would be in FF7? He is entombed in the Northern Crater. And so he needs Cloud to go free him and give him the black materia because he does not have a physical body that can do it, which is what the rest of the reunion people are also trying to do.
Yep.
But Cloud is like Genova powered, so he
Yeah.
has more of a chance to do it.
Okay. I'm here for the ride on that stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's like, there's certain things where I'm like, I'm just going to trust the process. I feel like for traditional storytelling, it's hard to follow certain things where I'm like, oh yeah, he does care about Cloud so much and I'm not getting that like side of explanation for it, but I get that is either you played the original Final Fantasy VII, I imagine, or there's a plan.
I do wonder if his plan with the fake black materia and giving that to Cloud and you talking about like materia being born out of emotion and like prayer and stuff like that. I do wonder if maybe nobody on our team even has like the real black materia. If that's the case of like the stuff not like crumbling into the black materia.
Yeah.
If he knows that and like that's part of his big plan is to like have some terrible event happen in part 3, and I think that's probably why he wants the war to start, is that I think he's like lining up the dominoes for something really tragic to happen in the third part, for Cloud to wish like evil upon the world, to make the fake black materia maybe a different type of black materia.
So we know what Sephiroth wants this now. Like
Right.
as of Rebirth, we know he wants to just essentially take all these worlds into himself and become like an omni being or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I think if he's trying to give Cloud negative feelings, we didn't get the pool scene this time. Or not pool, lake, whatever. The scene of Cloud taking Aerith's body
Right.
and putting it in the water. I think we're going to get that in 3 once he actually figures out what's going on. And I think that's going to break him mentally. And I suspect that's what we're going to happen like during his Nibelheim flashback. During the time that Tifa is there to try and keep him like somewhat together. So like ultimately I think Sephiroth is this war for Cloud Soul is not going to last forever, but I think Sephiroth is trying to get him into a position where he can use him better.
Yeah. Okay.
The beginning of this game, when we get the flashback to Nibelheim, the way that they handled all of that, I was so stoked about. Where we hear the different lines of dialogue, like either from the original game, or we get the guy that's clearly Cloud and like all this stuff, and I'm like, this is so cool. But then to get through it and have the in present time of them in calm having the conversation, or yeah, I guess it was calm, having the conversation about like, yo, what's going on? And Tifa straight up is like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I was like, this is so cool that they're
Yeah.
actually addressing what's going on. I wish they went further with it in this game.
Yes. Again, I think that's the thing of like Tifa is having these conversations with people in the back. She is saying like, "Hey, Cloud is not right. How does he remember these things even though he wasn't there? Like, did someone tell him? It's like, and later on he remembers Zack, which is a new thing. But like he remembers Zack, and she says, "I'll deal with it. I'll talk to Aerith about it." Because she doesn't want him going up, like further off the rails, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you got to peek into some of those conversations,
Yeah.
that would have helped me a lot with like the believability of like just the dynamics of the characters. Because yeah, like for me, as I had to like make those assumptions up for myself of like, okay, well maybe they're talking about it, but yeah, getting the things of, well, Tifa obviously was playing Crisis Core. I'm like, Tifa was there, so why isn't she speaking up more? Was a little bit of a thing for me where I'm like, I don't know, man.
So there's a small hint towards it, is that whenever Kate Sith is not with the rest of the party, they talk about how this guy is Shinra. He very could likely betray us. And Cloud is the one who's like, it'll be fine. So like
Interesting.
they do talk about each other when they're not there. But you just don't see them talk
Yeah.
about Cloud because you're always
I like
Cloud.
that.
Yeah.
Cisne, speaking of Crisis Core, we get a character from Crisis Core, now back, Gungaga, Zack's hometown. We're there a lot. Some of the getting around Gungaga and all that stuff wasn't so great, but story-wise, I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff here. What was your take on that section of the game? And
Speaking of music, like really affecting, they play a little bit of Price of Freedom when she first shows up, and I'm like, oh, they put in enough fan service for me to just know and appreciate this. I wish she did more, but I understand why she didn't. You can't like, she is someone that you could add to a party, and her not going needs a reason. And like the good reason is she's protecting this village. She doesn't want anything to do with Shinra. This is like her life now. So I enjoyed everything that was with her. I enjoyed like the end of the side quest there that were like, yeah, you guys want to get trained? I'll train you. They're like, what are you gonna do? You don't know anything. It's like, I used to be a Turk, and everyone seems shocked by that. Like, oh right, they wouldn't know. That's a very rich part of her backstory, but not really anyone else's.
yeah, I love the Turks in this game.
Yes,
I feel
They're
like
great.
Elena-
I love those characters.
They are such
She's
fun
the goat.
characters, and taking like the style that they had in Advent Children, and like just like that new kind of like Western version of the theme that they have,
Yeah.
and just making them these like super lovable guys that they might have been in the original game, but just like I never got that feel from it just reading the text, you know?
Yeah.
Seeing the way that they act and like bumble around, even their animation, some of them being straight up out of Advent Children, like the way that they move, so fun. And adding Elena, adding Sang.
Sang.
yeah.
And his conversation with Aerith towards the end of the game, the whole Temple of the Ancients bit. The Temple of the Ancients as a dungeon was probably my least favorite part of the game.
It's
just because
long.
it was very long and I didn't like the mechanics of the gravity and all that. But once we got into the story bits and them all having to like face their demons or whatever, and that big gravity boss fight that ends up being like with the Turks, that was a high for the game.
Yeah.
For me.
Yes.
Like that whole bit was just like, to me, that was fan service, but like in a way that felt like it wasn't a side story to the plot. It was part of the plot. And every character dynamic, the way that they talk to each other and the way the action all kind of backed up the gameplay, character stuff, music, everything. That's just perfect video game right there.
One thing I found out in hard mode was that if you dodge one of Elena's charging attacks in that first fight in the Mithril Mines, she just tumbles off the mountain and doesn't show up for like another 5 minutes. She has to climb back up.
awesome.
What the fuck? That's awesome.
Because there's a scene where that happens in the game, not in battle, but like before it. So like it's very funny that they like let's just integrate this into the game.
That's hilarious.
That's so
one
funny.
of my favorite moments with Elena, and I hate that I got the reference right, is like when she's stranded in like the desert region and she's like, I need some fucking ice cream, it's so hot out here. And then the next time we see her, she's in like one of their helicopters, she's eating the blue fucking like ice cream thing from Kingdom Hearts, and I was
Yeah,
like, I hate that I get this reference.
awesome. Hell yeah,
but
dude.
I love it because it's such a cheeky little nod, and yeah, that was
I
great.
saw someone in chat asking why Reno wasn't in more of the game. The Japanese voice actor died.
Oh shit.
So they're like, we can't fix this fast enough.
Right.
So like they put less Reno, and then
More or
I suspect they'll probably like recast him for the third game. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was why he didn't.
Damn, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I want to get to a couple YouTube super chats here. Guitar Hero Arrow says, has anyone else's perception of summons been forever changed by Final Fantasy 16? Summoning Phoenix and Rebirth, for example, I'm thinking, fight with me, Joshua. I will say, I am so impressed with the summons in Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I just hate how they're all tied to the VR stuff. I really wish that we got more like...
Did you finish the Gilgamesh quest?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so the Gilgamesh quest ends with you having to fight every summon or like your party versus two of them at once.
Oh, shit.
And it's actually like amazingly difficult. The Alexander Odin fight took me like 7-10 tries. But like, yeah, it is that you do fight them there. I wish they would have done more of it. I wish, honestly, they would have just put them in the world versus like VR.
That's it.
Yeah.
I just feel like I was so invested in the side tasks, things of like checklist shit of just going to find the summon stuff, the world intel, like to get the summon, the music playing. And I love that stuff so much. And I love building the lore of the summons. And I just feel like the result being like, oh yeah, you fight it in VR. I was like, man, like this had such a missed opportunity here. And especially so close to 16.
It should have been find the three things and then the fourth one you fight them.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like this as like an attempt at the open world, because overall I did have a really good time. Like I had mentioned during the review that for a certain amount of time I was 100%ing the game, and I think the area that broke me was Gongaga, like that foresty
The
area.
traversal of that area is a
tough,
crime
man.
in video games.
It was, that was the moment where I was like, I can't do it anymore. But yeah, I if I could like go back and have them do it over again, I would. Well, I was having a conversation recently on PS I Love You with Janet about like how to make a good open world and all this stuff, right? And like one of the things that I wish the open world of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth had was like more secrets to find. Like it is so checklist, you can see where everything is on the map, like you know where to go, you know the activities to do. If I think the one thing that would have worked so well with the summons, especially because I'm with you that the VR stuff didn't work as like the main thing for the summons. If it was you would happen across like a summon battle out in the wild, and it's like, oh shit, I gotta fight Titan, and that's how you unlock Titan. I think that could have been like the thing to make that really cool, that exploration aspect there.
Absolutely. And there's moments where you're out in the desert and there's the giant sandworm thing just pops
Yeah.
up.
Oh, that Gilgamesh thing. Yeah.
Those moments, if that was like that's how summons were introduced, I would have been so
would've been so cool.
Who's the freak that is part of that quest?
Kid something.
Kid something.
Yeah.
The little like
the
elf-
Sonic character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was awesome. I love him. I only hung out with him a couple times, and I was like, he is the weirdest little guy
So,
that is like,
If
he's like a couple steps further past Kate Sith of just like, why are they in this world? But I love him.
if you beat that quest,
Kid G.
If you beat that quest, you fight him, and he's actually fairly difficult. And then later you fight him again. I think in the arena, the Golden Cluster arena. Yeah.
Damn. Shout out to Kid G. He was
Shout out
awesome.
to Kid G. Joshy G just says, I'm Nanaki, watcher of Cosmo Canyon, son of Sato.
Dude, I was not expecting that. Like,
Yeah.
I think I forget if that was a part I played in the original Final Fantasy VII, but I'm sure without voice acting, you're not able to convey that, right? Like the voice change, the attitude change, all this. And so, yeah, when he's like, oh, hi guys, and he's like acting like Nanaki instead of being Red 13, I was so fucking thrown off and confused, but also delighted because it was one of the goofiest things I've ever seen.
And that's why, like, I think this reminds me of a point you were talking about earlier of just like how well they built the cast of characters, and even when they do take a left turn, you're kind of invested of like the voice change and all of that. I was so fucking in, and I loved all of that in terms of him kind of revealing who he is and then getting to his past. Like that's like one of my favorite moments from the original is like the whole like moment with his dad where it's like. And here, just fucking
It also like it added to the comedy because like when he goes back to the old man voice, you're like, oh, he wants to be taken seriously telling the story about pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny because I just didn't when the voice happened, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I thought something was wrong.
Same
Yeah,
actor.
Same.
I'm like, did
actor.
I get not a game
He's
break?
the one who plays Ryuji in Persona 5. So
Yeah.
he can do the
For
young-
real?
Yes. Yeah, no, yes, for real.
That's so funny, man. Like, yeah, no, when this happened, I just didn't. Again, you just read these things, and I was a little kid reading it too, so I was like, I didn't put that
Yeah,
together.
no, I didn't. I don't know what I perceived of Red 13's voice when it came in remake. I was like, oh yeah, this is what Red 13 sounds like. Then when it changed, I was so confused.
Yeah, very, very funny. But Cosmo Canyon's always been one of my favorite locations in 7, and I love the how weird so much of it is, but I love how spiritual it is, and then the scene that they have here with Aerith, kind of like with the festival of light type situation, and them having so many great conversations in the nighttime. How beautiful this location is! Maybe my favorite location theme in the game, and the higher you get up, the tower, the music just swells into this way that by the time you get to the top, I'm like, I am so emotional right now.
Yeah.
And then you go underground, and that whole story of the Geese, like, this is some dark shit, man. And it ending and culminating in the same ending that was in the original, but being able to see it this way was like, man, they really pulled this thing off, man. The relationship between him and his dad and Red being part of this team, I feel like is so fantastic.
So one thing I loved about Cosmo Canyon thematically is that you spend this entire game hearing that they're people of the Earth. They understand, like, you need to save the Earth at all costs kind of thing. But you go there, and the party realizes, no, they're actually the extremists. They're like, not like the party is. Because Cosmo Canyon are like, well, we pray for the planet, we do some research, but we don't actually, like, we don't support necessarily going violent for. And I think it's one of those things of, no, we have to go violent, otherwise they're going to destroy the Earth. Like, I don't think you people understand. And I think that works really well for, they finally thought they had somewhere that would understand them. And that they didn't. It turned out to be something that, like, they still feel like outliers in this entire thing. Another thing about Cosmic Canyon is you should go back there if you haven't, because up in the meeting area where they had like the sit down, like what was it, like a powwow talk sort of thing, there's a lady there, there's an NPC who talks about how she has come to believe that the live stream supports, like, just creates worlds for dead people, which is effectively the thing you need to know before the end of the game to make any of that make sense. And she thinks about her, she thinks it about her mother and all that. And like the mentor guy just kind of goes, "That's nice. Like it's cool that you think that."
That's
and then
neat.
moves on. But it is probably the most important dialogue for the plot in the game.
That's crazy.
And they just kind of buried it into a Cosmo Canyon.
So
like,
interesting.
You overhear it sort of thing.
Yeah, wow.
Timmy, really
yeah,
quick,
go
before you move on to another super chatter question, I just want to shout out the Queen's Blood story.
Yes.
Because like they put their full fucking blood, sweat, and tears into designing a really fun card game in Queen's Blood, right? And they didn't have to add a story to it, but they did. And like the first kind of moment where you get the weird, like, you're in a dream and the person that you fight like also sees it, they're like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And I love that it culminates in, like, I don't know if I assume
I still haven't
yeah,
beaten
with-
the last one. I have which one left. I try to find it.
Wait, so who are you on?
I guess Spoilercast, right?
Yeah.
I beat what was like the major I think the main ghost guy that was talking to you.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
the
more-
creator.
yeah.
Yeah, the creator. And then now I have like one left, it looks like.
I
Okay, yeah.
so
And I can't
I
find
love
it.
that. So you know, spoiler cast and stuff, but the creator, Tim, of the Queen's Blood pops up in like the fucking haunted hotel where like ghosts pop up,
Yeah.
and it's so
Yeah, it's
goddamn
really
good.
And no
Oh,
one
yeah,
thinks
That's
anything
great.
about it because there's other ghosts there.
Yeah, and it's so fucking good. And I also love, like, shout out to like one of the Sephiroth like clone dudes is like another person you battle, just like in Nibelheim and stuff. So goofy. The next person you face to get like the, I don't know, the Light Queen card, I forget what her card was, to fight the Shadow Queen, you have to fight Vincent. So Vincent is a Queen's Blood player.
Wait, so where is he?
Next
He's
to Nibelheim Mansion, I think.
he's at the Nibelheim Mansion. He's like over to the right.
Yeah. Like outside of it to the right.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Because for some reason I've just been looking in Cosmo Canyon.
I will say the end of that quest where Cloud takes possession of the card is the stupidest thing. Because why would Cloud? He is someone infamously susceptible to possession.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the cool. So remember your rival on the fucking cruise boat with the pink hair
Yeah.
and stuff, and it's like, all right, she keeps popping up. Where are they going to go with her? And so, like, once you get this special card from Vincent, then you go and find her, I think, in Gungaga, like in the ruins or whatever. And she's been possessed by this Shadow Queen card that is like fucking things up and like I think like killed the creator or something. It's been a couple months, but she's been possessed and like the final duel is between you and her. And again, that's why it's the most Yu-Gi-Oh ass storyline.
So cool.
Multiple people die, then someone else finds the card, gets possessed by it. Like that's how it ended up in her possession. But it's like,
I love it.
is Cloud going, no, I will be the fine one here? It's like, no, you won't.
I hope it plays into the main story. I hope that's like what happens in part 3. He gets taken over by the Shadow Queen.
They've brought every side character back. I bet they'll bring her back too for another Queen's Blood tournament.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Queen's Blood, absolutely amazing. Just like little things about this game I want to shout out. Obviously, Red 13 wearing the outfit on the boat.
Yes.
Oh my god, so good.
I thought they weren't
amazing.
going to do it because like, oh, that's going to be too much work. We're not gonna
No, they did it, and it was fantastic. Shout out to the Haunted Hotel, period. Like, I love how much love they put into that area. Like, walking into it, it just reminds me how special these remake games are, where they understand the little things that mean a lot to people of just like weird locations. They're like, fuck it, we're doing it. The last game had the ghost train.
Yeah.
And it's like, they could have just not done that. They could find a way around it, but they do. And I feel like it really, really helps with what this world is, which is serious as fuck, but also goofy as hell. And it's goofy stuff that they're making more serious looking, but it's also new goofy stuff.
Yes.
Like when you are in Junon and you walk into the bar and then you realize it's just a bald claw.
Oh my God.
So good.
They have a whole musical number that they did before that.
We need to, you and me. We got to go to that bar one day.
Absolutely.
That was amazing.
I loved it.
Yeah, they absolutely nail tone in this. Yeah, to all the stuff you're talking about, where it is so goofy when you're in the second big area and you find a quest on the quest board that's like, hey, or so it's just ribbits, and you're like, what the fuck? But you go to the location and it's a bunch of kids have found this like, I don't know if it was like a new
The pawn that makes you a frog.
the pawn that turns you into frogs, and the kids just found it and they're like, yeah, we like to hang out and turn into frogs, and then they push you into it, and now you're playing like you had to do a battle, but then also afterwards you do like a frog Fall Guys mini game.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So weird, but also I love it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how much they leaned into the goofy and like again like the character building kind of just like let's all be friends, slice of life kind of stuff. Two quick things. Pixel Knight in the chat says Shadow Queen appears in a mural in the Temple of the Ancients, which I did not catch. And then someone else, I lost it, but someone said Cloud's already possessed, can't be double possessed.
Yeah, hey, that's how it works. I want to get the last couple super chats through here. We got a Flaming Whippet saying, Dine's story was the most emotional I got in the game. Cloud's Mako freakouts happened so much to the point where I was surprised no one really sat him down and had an actual talk with him. That's kind of to bless his point.
Do you think did you like the change to Dine's story?
You know, I don't really remember too much about I saw people were upset about it, but
the big change is in the original game he threw himself off a cliff, and this one he did basically suicide by cop.
So I personally like it because you get to see his anger at Barrett for taking in Marlene.
Yeah.
But despite that, still aiming to protect Barrett from Shinra coming in, because he knows that, like, even though like his anger and he like I forget if he says it again in Rebirth of like wishing Marlene still wasn't around because he just fucking hates how this world is turned, like what this world is turned into. There's, to me, it gave like a part of him that felt like there's still a glimmer of hope, even though he has no hope for himself. And that's why it really worked for me.
There was something about the Dine part of the game that, I mean, so much of it was great. I just feel like there was a couple calls that I would have done differently. Like when we get to Golden Saucer and we see clearly it's not Barrett, clearly it's somebody else with a gun arm, like kill all the people. I wish that they didn't show us that. Like, I know because I played the game, so I know it's not him, but like, I feel like they kind of revealed something.
There could have been a bit more mystery around it for a little bit.
I feel like taking away that mystery, even to people that know the answer, it just frames it differently so that by the time we get to Dine and Barrett, which I feel like also takes a little too long, like, and this is a lot of the side quest stuff, but doing the under Golden Saucer stuff, like, I wasn't really thrilled with some of that stuff.
Is that the Kate Sith part as well?
No, that's later. But
that was what's his name?
It's like when you got to free the chocobo, right?
Right. Yeah. It had that guy, the gang leader, except he had a really cool theme, but I don't remember his name.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember
playing on his name too. Yeah. But I just feel like all that stuff kind of took out a lot of the tension,
Gus.
but also there wasn't tension because we already knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So by the time we got to them, the moments were still there. I just feel like it didn't hit me as hard
it should
as it could.
it should be in the back of your head like Barrett could do this.
Totally.
This is the thing that he advocates for, but he wouldn't shoot innocent people, would he? And like that should be the thing in your head. But you see him discovering the bodies.
Then we got Sachin72767 saying, I think there's a timeline where Cloud had saved Aerith because Sephiroth had merged the realities in one, and Aerith came to support Cloud, which surprised Sephiroth, saying he underestimated her.
Yeah. I think so too. I think that part where they all open up a door in the Whispers and only Cloud goes through, I think that's very important. I'm just not sure how yet.
Yeah.
Okay, this is an important aspect now. Do you think Aerith is alive somewhere and Cloud is just like tuning into her thoughts or tuning into like her spirit or something? Or do you think he's just full ass in denial?
I'm team Aerith's dead.
I think she's dead in that universe for sure.
Yes. But I think he's talking to us in Aerith.
I think he's talking to an Aerith in a different universe.
I think it's the
Because
live
somebody else sees that Aerith in the party too.
Red 13
Yeah.
feels her, and it fucking broke me, man.
Yeah.
That moment, oh my god.
Because
I think it's the what is it? The
live stream?
the live stream. I think it's that.
yeah.
Now, here's the thing. There's also, I feel like the most popular theory on this is that it's Genova. You know, like Genova is
I
controlling.
saw Maximilian go for that. And
I haven't watched it Spoilercast yet.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Okay, I don't think that's the case. I think it is just like I think it's interesting idea. I don't think that like Genova is using her transformation powers to because other people would see that.
I feel like one of my biggest question marks, and this has been from the original even, I feel like Genova is like the least fleshed out thing, and I want more answers.
Yep.
Like, I feel like they have an opportunity here to kind of like create Genova as a thing that is more impactful as opposed to now, which just kind of feels like it's Sephiroth's plot point to be able to like do bad things.
Yeah.
I think we're getting a flashback one like in the third game or something to Genova versus the Ancients. Because they got really close in this one to showing us what happened and what all that was.
Yeah. Ooh. This is on some bullshit ass nerd stuff here, Imran.
Uh-huh.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, we get the scene of them in Shinra, and we see like the weird like museum flashback thing, and they clearly look like Final Fantasy X characters.
Yes.
In this, Temple of the Ancients, where Aerith kind of becomes one with the live stream, and she's
The dance.
swinging her thing around. She's doing the Yuna summon dance.
So they've confirmed this, like in an Ultimania, that they are the same world. So they
Yeah.
like I would not be shocked that they intentionally put in FF10 references.
I mean, I want more, baby, and I freaking love it. I freaking love it, everybody. Let's see. We got just two more here. We got Suteka Dani 94, which is the name of the vocal song from Final Fantasy X. Was the traversal really that bad in Gongaga? It was like one layer of complexity higher than the rest of the areas beforehand.
But it was not the complexity of it. It was just the not fun of like, okay, this is a platform that I obviously need to find a mushroom to get up to. Where the fuck is this mushroom to bounce off it? Like, it just wasn't.
I've ended up on the other side of the map because I chose the wrong mushroom.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I think
and
it's the layout of it,
it's-
and then the mushroom paths.
Yeah, it's not the complexity of it. It was just like the annoyance of the design getting in the way of where you want to go.
I didn't like Cosmo Canyon personally. Like that was the trouble. I happened to look into everywhere I needed to go in Gongaga, but I can see how if you didn't, then it would be real annoying. Cosmo Canyon, it was a lot of okay. Is this place like 300 feet up, or is it like?
Dude,
Yeah,
I
that's
spent so
fair.
long. I forget exactly what it was I was looking for. I think it had to do with the Chocobo quest, though. I spent so long looking for something that I could not find. Also, I struggled so hard at first trying to figure out how to fly the Chocobo too.
Honestly,
Yeah.
the chocobos in this game, like when you're just in the world map running around, totally fine.
Yeah.
The mini games to get them, and then the unique location gimmick stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's some of my
Awful.
least
The stealth
favorite
stuff
in the
was
game.
Customizing chocobos though, 10
Pretty
out of
fun.
10.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
I'm very much looking because they've said for the next game they're going to try to make an open world flight with the High Wind.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to seeing one, does that actually work, and two, what are they like? How that's going to look.
The final two here, we got CJ Splits on saying, "What do you think of Sid being so good looking?"
Perfect.
Oh my!
Love Sid in this.
Sid was so good.
I think what they're trying to do is he's 35 years old and never looked 35 years old, so they're trying to make him look 35 years old.
That's funny.
And they just made him beautiful.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good for them.
And then Bill Schaefer says, thoughts on combat. Is it better compared to part 1?
100%.
I think so.
Yeah, that was my big thing with Remake, is I did not love the flow of combat in Remake, and that's just been a modern Final Fantasy thing. I just have not like gelled with the action style stuff ever since 15. I think the kind of combo moves that are not like the big ones.
Synergy.
Yeah, the synergy attacks. I think there's just something added there that makes the combo a bit more quick for me to build up to, like the big attacks and all that stuff. That just there's a better flow to it, I think. And Yuffie is fucking cracked in combat, and Yuffie makes combat so goddamn fun.
Have you seen Yuffie? I loved her so much in combat.
Have you seen like the Killer Bee build people have made for her?
Oh yes.
So like it is just constantly buzzing around enemies, constantly shocking them with one of the synergy things. It is. You can take down like a lot of HP in seconds.
That's so cool. Yeah, no, Yuffie was my go-to. I think Rebirth is just a dramatic improvement on Remake. I really enjoyed Remake, but I feel like this tightens things up, speeds things up. The variety of characters, like in the first game, there's a couple times I didn't love when it's like, oh man, they took away these characters for story beats, so you have to use these. Yeah. In this one, I was always like, hey, I'm not mad at using anybody, but I just can't wait to get Yuffie.
Because again, like the
Yuffie,
synergy, like getting Yuffie back, but then, I think the synergy attacks like really helps the kind of, even if you're not playing as someone you love, there's still a little bit of wombo combo there that helps it out.
I kind of struggle with Aerith a little bit. Her like projectile magic
So,
thing.
Yeah, I'm not a magic kind of guy.
Aerith, I think, is the one that's like just kind of makes clear you can't get away with not using menus. You have to use menus in this battle system this time.
Yeah.
Because like you could in Remake, you could like just stick with Cloud, just melee stuff. But this one, you have to use menus and you have to usually
But
use
the problem with her is like filling up her ATB is so tough, especially when it is, she is the only one left on your team, or it's only her and like one other person.
Right.
When I'm using Cloud, it's like slash. All right, I got ATB, let's fucking go. With her, building up that gauge is such a challenge, and she's entirely based around magic. And so it's like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna fucking throw this, wait a couple seconds, throw another one.
Yep.
Yeah.
15 seconds later, finally I can do one ability.
Similarly, Kate Sith, big oof.
Kate Sith, I struggled with.
You gotta start or have Aerith the build which starts with one bar already. Then then get in I think Radiant Ward, which changes her basic attack to a laser, and then once you do that, you can build ATB really easy.
Okay. Damn, I wish I knew that. I need to hit you up when we get the third game.
Have you platinumed it?
Not yet. I had to do some reviews, so I haven't gone back to it yet.
How many hours are you in?
145, I think.
God, 145
Jesus.
hours. Imran the Don.
Which is a lot of like finishing stuff and also like going back through hard mode and going through, because hard mode real hard actually. It turns out you still have to do all the side quests, you still have to do all that stuff, but also you can't really heal or like do much of anything outside of items and like not even really outside of battle. Oh, I did remember one thing I wanted to say. So talking about the Cloud denial versus like acceptance thing in the fight. After the thing happens with Aerith and you fight Jenova, everyone except Cloud has their limit breaks filled because they are pissed off and like upset.
Oh, it's so freaking cool, man.
But also, Jenova, if you wait long enough, will do a move called Mourning Wail. Like I'm mourning this person's death. Everyone is affected by it except Cloud, who does not get pushed back. So he does not believe in that fight that Aerith is actually dead. Because he is not in mourning, he is not angry, he is just taking out Jenova.
Everybody, let us know in the comments below what you think about that amazing theory from Imran.
That's sick.
The Don Con. Imran, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Barrett
you.
and Blessing, thank you as well.
It was
Thanks
fucked
for
up that he
educating me.
dropped that and then just started sipping on his sippy cup for nothing.
It's perfect, everybody.
Glad we were able to do
And
this
thank you
finally.
all for hanging out with this. This was a whole bunch of fun. We are about to switch over to the continuation of Nick's Pokemon journey. Will he catch them all? Will he
that's
become
after
the
Game
very
Showdown,
best?
though, right?
Oh, you're right. You're right. We got Game Showdown.
It's a Friday.
Season 2 premiere, baby. Oh, that's going to be awesome. If you're watching on Twitch, you can just keep hanging out. We'll be right there for you. Otherwise, you have to make the jump over on YouTube to Game Showdown, and then Pokemon's after that. We're hanging out all day. It's going to be a blast. But until next time, dilly-dally, shilly-shally.